Open your mouth. Spread your legs. Clear. Let's go.
What up, y'all? It's your boy SF. And first and foremost, I want to say rest in peace, my brother Gunner, man. We at Vietnam Projects right now. And with that being said, let's get into another Dog in the Yard episode with Vidal Guzman. And I mean, entrepreneur, abolitionist, author. He was incarcerated as a teen, raised in Harlem. He's doing a lot of things in the community with justice reform, but we ain't gonna get into too much. We're gonna let him tell his incredible story, all right? Let's get into that. SF, Dog in the Yard.
What up, what up? You already know what it is. Your boy Pistol Pete. Welcome back to Dog in the Yard. And today we got Vidal in the building from Harlem. What up, Vidal? How you
doing, man? Thank you for having me here. As I said to you before off the camera, is Hispanic Heritage Month. So I think we need to always celebrate that. But as men, I think it's important for us as formerly incarcerated individuals who experience the system to be vocal as much as possible. So I appreciate you having me here. And I've always been a fan of not just your work, but all the people in your circle and what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you having me here. I appreciate you.
You know what I'm saying? And it's good. Listen, man. Like you said, Spanish Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So we here. You know what I'm saying? We doing great things. Mm-hmm. We here. That means we moving.
Yeah, we are.
You know what I'm saying? We not staying quiet.
Mm-hmm. We got to be vocal. And I think I'm an ED at a nonprofit, and I told you before, at an organization called America on Trial, we empower directly impacted people who've been coming back from the system to empower them to get active in campaigning. But I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah. Now let's just get into your tough times.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those. Let's talk about your upbringing. How many siblings you have? Mm-hmm. Mom, pop. You say you're from Harlem. Mm-hmm. Where in Harlem?
I'm from the west side of Harlem. So 148th, 145th and 8th. Okay. Those neighborhoods. So I lived around Drew Hand Projects, Polo Ground, 40 Wolves, 40th, and just that whole neighborhood. Right. And being Latinx, being Dominican in a black neighborhood is also difficult things that happen. But for me, I grew up around 7-8 years old, experiencing the drug system, right? You got to be careful when you grow up in these households, knowing that they're, selling drugs to try to provide. You might get the sugar mixed up with the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think for me, I really grew up just kind of watching, my father, my older brother just trying to hustle. And at 7-8 years old, I was just watching, while I should have been paying attention in school, I was watching what was going on around me. Everybody was hustling around me. While they, went to jobs and trying to get jobs, nobody gave them no jobs. What do you think people gonna do when they can't feed their family? In survival mode. So, at 7-8 years old, I was seeing that. And at 8, 9, 10 years old, I started really experiencing the streets. I started being out there with my brothers, seeing things that he was doing. And I was slowly getting more into the street element. Right. Younger and younger, 11, 12 years old. I mean, that's...
Were you still going to school?
Yeah, I was still going to school. But at the end of the day, hustling was a real thing, right? You gotta provide, you gotta feed your family. And for me, those early age, 11, 12 years old, I was getting more involved in the streets, seeing what's going on out there, how I can get money, right? And while I should have been thinking about school, but I always say this: I didn't have people like you who came home or started educating me on the wrongs and rights. I just had to learn, and the learning from me was people around me who was drug dealers, pimps, and gang members. These was the ones who was left behind when everybody grew out of the hood, moved from the hood.
Either was in jail.
Or was in jail, right? And the people that come home from jail, they have a hard time telling their story, because they might feel like you might not connect to them. So me being out 11, 12 years old, started getting more active in crews, right? Because I wasn't active in the gang. Right. When I started stepping outside, I started seeing a lot of neighborhoods had crew members, right? So 8th Avenue, 145th, you got 40 Wolves
Right.
between 7th and 8th, and then you got 40th and Lenox, where Big L is from.
Right.
And then you got Drew Hand Projects, the Too Deep Mafia, like these, the Best Out and Polo Ground, where I learned about them because they used to take guns off the holsters of the cops. And they never, and around the hood, when you remember those times when cops used to walk by themselves?
Not no more.
No, not no more. In Polo Ground, they was young, 12, 13, taking a gun off the holsters. Like those were the environment where I was like, yo, what's going on?
That's where you was getting raised in.
Yeah, and it made it more easier for me to step in that hustling life and figuring out how I can provide.
Right.
And then slowly I started getting into robberies, right? Like I ain't making money fast enough. I need to figure this out. And it's just
We talking about what? 12, 13?
I mean, it's tough, right? Because it's like when you in that lifestyle, you don't have that how do you say that moral or the ability to think about what you're doing. All you see is what you're mirroring around you, and you just like, shit, I just heard somebody just robbed somebody. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like that same cycle. So at 12, 13 years old, I was out there trying to survive. 14, 15 years old, I started getting more active with the Bloods. The Bloods was around me. And, I didn't really get active, with the Bloods until I was 19. So when I was 15, 16 years old, I was learning about Rikers Island.
Right.
And I didn't even know Rikers even existed. Like I especially for young people when youth was there. And for me being 16, 17 years old, I learned why they call it Gladiator School, why they call it Torture Island. You know what I'm saying? And
You learning all these things while you 14 years old.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because you're out there.
Yeah, you in the street.
Yeah, you're in the streets. You seeing what you got your ear to the streets. You're watching, and majority of the people that was doing good wasn't around me.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So for me, at those age brackets, I was like trying to figure out like what's gonna happen, like what's next for me. But then, when I landed in the Rikers Island when I was 16 years old, people don't know those stories when you get into Rikers, right? Usually, I tell people all the time when I got into Rikers, it's this like bridge, how we call it, the bridge of pain, where you had an OG telling me like, yo, yeah, if y'all have never been on Rikers, get ready. And that was like my first experience of like Rikers Island and having the OG tell me like, yo, this is Gladiator School, this is Torture Island. And I didn't even know what that actually meant. I was just a hustler, just trying to,
get a dollar and survive.
Yeah.
And you ain't had nobody out there tell you, yo, hold up, easy, young man. Where's your parents?
So my father, so I grew up with my stepfather. My stepfather was a Rastafarian. So I grew up in a Dominican Rastafarian household. Okay. So my pops, Rastafarian, they do a lot of teaching Black liberation. So I got a lot of moment to also figure out who I was as a Dominican, right? Like my, what is our Black side, right? Like what does that mean? How do we connect to the Afro Latinx? I just started learning so much from him, from his Rastafarian, but he was a hustler. He was another person that's just trying to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And, my pops, he claimed every job that he got was under the table. You got to pay him under the table. And, most of the times those jobs ain't never available for people like that.
Right.
And for me, like, I watched him as any other man, just providing. I looked in that refrigerator, it was full. And for me, like, that was who I looked up to.
Yeah, I mean, he's the father figure. He's the one that's there for you.
Yeah. And
he's the provider.
Oh, yeah. But for me, it was just that learning, being out in the streets, because for him, he was a hustler.
Yeah.
For me, I started getting more involved in the gang.
So what made you start robbing instead of hustling?
I mean, I don't know, man. You never know the answer to that. Like I always say, like,
you had some friends that was on robbery mode.
Yeah, robbery mode. I was, to be truthful, I was a bad apple, right? Like, but my pocket of neighborhood or my pocket of block, we was surrounded with housing complex. So majority of times, you know what happened? People click up together. It's like, yo, we from this neighborhood, and if these guys come over here, we have, right? So a lot of times, you know, our block was just by ourselves.
Right.
So it wasn't just about like the hustling part. It was the robbery and the violent part that really got it more impacted because our exposure to different other housing complex, getting in beef with them. And a lot of those things started getting into the element of like violence. And I'm like, let me go rob somebody. Let me just, you get what I'm saying? This is a part
you
of
a gang member then?
Yeah, I was active. I was a part of a crew. I wasn't at that time blood. But for me, the crews was still.
So when you converted to gang, like to blood, like what made you?
19. Yeah, I was 19.
What year was this?
This was around 2010.
Okay.
Around, I came home before I got locked up. I was already blood. It was around me.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like it was people in my family who were like the first generation bloods that took it to the East Coast, who were around here and learned, and, you know, and they grew up around that era. And I was just exposed to it, you know, and most of my friends was blood. Right. And for me, I was like, you know what, like everybody around me is blood. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, and I respected the neighborhood. I respected the culture. Right. And for me,
the
unity. Yeah, the importance of lessons learned.
What it's supposed to be like.
What it's supposed to be like. But I didn't really, you know, for me, like 16 to 19, because I became blood when I was 19, and I slowly started learning what it's supposed to be, right? Like not what it's now, right? And then it's not no disrespect to anyone who's in the culture, but for me, a lot of the books that was coming my way was a lot of Black Panther books, Young Lords, and just exposed to OGs who not just experienced the system, but had just a different thinking of the way that they maneuver through life.
Right.
And you know, majority of the time is like when I landed in solitary confinement, it was just me. You get what I'm saying? Like when I was putting to work, it was just me going in solitary confinement. Nobody was sending me no food. Nobody was checking on my family, you know, and for me, that's what made me kind of say, okay, I got to figure out who's in my circle.
So not to cut you, but when that transpired, like what? So you went to jail in 2010. Mm-hmm. You was already in blood.
Yeah. So I went to jail 2010, and also when I was 16, 17 years old. And 2007 and 2008. That's when the youth was still in Rikers Island.
Right.
So Torture Island was a real thing, you know.
Fighting talk about it, because I don't want to just jump the gun.
Now let's do it.
Yeah. So you was on the island at 16. Mm-hmm. And how was that? Your first experience in the island, going over the bridge? You know, I mean, what was your mental like?
I didn't know what I was in, right? Like that's a real thing. I didn't know what was meeting me at the end of the bridge. And for me, like I was fully prepared to whatever it meant, right? That means if I gotta just start swinging once I get in through the doors, let's do it. You know, like I think for me, I was learning about jail while also listening to people about their experience and what they're going through. And I started learning about the fight club that happened on Rikers Island. And for me, the fight club was this abilities for people to prove themselves. Like, I'm not a punk. You're not going to take nothing from me. You're not going to take advantage of me. So that 16, 17 being in there, and especially 16 years old, like your mind is still developing, right? Mm-hmm. And 2007, when you're going inside of Rikers, you first in the dorm for like maybe a month, right, before they prepare you to go any housing complex. And for me, like I was small things, little fight here and there, but nothing that would get me into solitary confinement, right?
What was
like
your moms and dad at this point? I mean, what would they say about, like? You
know, I had to pay lawyer too, you know, and it was moments of time when, you know, like you get in a scuffle, you know, you get jumped and whatever, you show up to your lawyer's meeting with a cookie on your eye. Like, you get what I'm saying? So it was just those moments where I think my mom was just scared, man, because it wasn't just me locked up. My brother was finishing in 16 years.
So she already knew the ropes as far as having a son away for 16 years, and now dealing with younger.
But also my uncles being, going through the ICE detention centers, or, people who also went upstate and other different facilities.
Yeah,
So-
families and stuff like that.
So we, my mom's is both of her sons locked up. And for me being,
I can relate to that. Me and my brothers was locked up too.
yeah,
We was all locked up at the same time too.
yeah,
So you could just imagine what your moms go through, all
yeah,
the changes she has to go through to be there for one son,
yeah.
and imagine two. You know what I'm saying?
It was tough, man, because
it's
you gotta choose between, like, who do I send a package to,
And it's
who
still
not.
tough for them
Yeah.
young brothers out there and them sisters out there. It's still tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not easy going to visit. It's a process.
Process.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when you know who loves you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing, right? Because even me being 16, I just started seeing people just spook away, right? Like, not be anywhere where I, not send me letters, not send me
All these friends that you had when you 14, 15, 16.
14, 15 years
You
old.
should have a lot of friends.
And then you stand back and you like, you here by yourself. You're not a part of no automatic, gangs
Yeah, of
that
course.
take are taking over the Rikers. You literally you're by yourself. You know.
How long you was there for?
So I was there for around, when I was 16, 17, so around 2 years when I was younger.
And what was the reason?
Robberies.
Robbery.
Yeah, robberies. So when I was in front of the judge, I was 16, but I was facing 15 years. That was my first little, hey, would you take, because people don't know, when you go through the system and when you see the judge, sometimes they give you whatever they feel that first office, and they see if you're going to bite. And usually a lot of people don't take that first offer.
Right.
So once my mother heard that, being 16, she got the lawyer. She said, let me get the family to put their money in and at least get a lawyer.
Let's get the familia. Let's get this bread. We got to get this happen because we got to get this man out.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I get it, man.
It's every day, man. Me being in there every day, I was fighting for just survival, for abilities, for people. You're not taking anything from me. Every time, I gotta make a mark. And, sometimes people don't, if you've been there and you having fights almost every single day, your fist hurting.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, how many times you got to get into fights? How many fights you got to get into?
So you was getting lots of fights?
Yeah.
Why?
People will try to take advantage of you. Phones, commissary. As you ask me about my father, he made sure that commissary was full. And he always made sure every week in some way I had like $120.
Yeah.
That's
You was heavy on the commissary.
heavy on the commissary.
In jail, you get tried. People, they see you, they size you up. You go through all that. You got that where you can either be a victim or you are a survivor.
Oh yeah, I was like 5'4", 120 pounds.
Look at that, man. Little guy.
Yeah, little guy. I'm swinging. It's just that, but it's what people don't know. Some of these kids is like 6'7", 6'5". I'm going in there. It's like, man, they got me here with grown kids.
They just tall as hell.
Tall.
Yeah, I get it.
So, being 16, 17, I really got.
So what was the outcome with that?
Man, I got 6-5 split, 6 months of cases. So, and 5-year probation. So I got time served off the back. So basically, I had to do probably 3 years of probation, and then just be able to like come home and finish probation.
Right.
But coming home, I didn't have that support system like you. I didn't have somebody like yourself who came home and started speaking about their what they went through.
The experience.
The experience. I mean, I fell right into the same thing, right? Like that street life and just seeing everything around me. Violence started picking up. Our neighborhood started beefing with other housing complex.
Right.
And that's a real thing.
You started getting more active.
More active.
You older. You looser. You did your little 2 years on the island.
And people gonna try you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And that follows you, right? Like, cause just because you left Rikers doesn't mean Rikers left you, right? And that's a real experience for people coming home because they take that energy and whatever happened in there outside. And for me, being 16, 17 years old, I was seeing people go home and get killed for taking that same energy outside.
Right, of course.
So in that moment of time, I was just trying to find myself. I had to, I dropped out of high school, got my
you're
GED.
16 years old. Most of the time at 16, guys, you just don't know where you want to be at. You know what I'm saying? You might think you can conquer the whole world all at one time. You could be a part of everything at one time, and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that. You gotta stay put, and just stay put, stay put, move firmly, and most importantly, it's just it's a mindset.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? It's all a mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because if you did that, you came home. How long it took you before you came back?
So I was locked up again at 19 to 24. So I've been home. I'm about to make 10 years home. So I've been home.
So when you came on 16, after 2 years on the island.
Not even a year.
Not
even a year. I fell right in.
Back to the island.
It was, and now I was more active, right? Like I started.
Oh, you're older. You're more wiser. You feel like you got more in control. So how was that going back to the island, going over the bridge again?
It was different, right? Because now I'm affiliated.
Right.
I'm going to the island where, one, I'm Dominican, right? So there's already a racial division that's already happening, right? They see you as, you supposed to be Trinitario, or because my brother is,
It's believe me, I know a lot of brothers too that they Dominicans, and some of them are blood, and some of them is Trinitarios, and how that worked out for you?
Oh, it wasn't good, right? Because sometimes
I could just imagine.
Yeah, because they look at you as you like, you're the enemy.
Them.
Yeah, you betrayed them. You're the enemy, and when you grow up in a neighborhood like Harlem, it's a black neighborhood. You're connected to whatever's going on, and for me, like that meant like I could speak Spanish, and if we're at war with anyone, I could know what's going on.
Yeah.
And when I entered Rikers, now it's a whole different ball game, right? Like
different world.
Yeah, now you gotta prove yourself, right? Like I'm not turning blood on Rikers. I came to Rikers while I was still affiliated. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it's a whole different lifestyle, right? Like now they know that you was blood outside, that you had that history with you, that people know you from outside. It's not like you just became blood on Rikers.
Right.
So for me, like being in that space, I had to maneuver not just being blood, but also like, what does that mean, right? Like what type of power comes with that, right? And I think with me understanding, it's like phones is real. People fights for phones,
right?
And I've been in situations when, the dormitory where I was at will be full of a whole bunch of gang members. And you got 5 phones there, and everybody want to jack some time slot, and you got to be the bigger person and be an organizer and figure out how you can keep the peace in the dorm, right? And knowing even if we outnumbered the Lion King or we outnumbered, it's like it's not even about that. It's about how do we live in this environment,
right?
But
how we live together.
But there've been moments in time, as an individual, because I'm a part of this part of this culture. When disrespect happened, right? Like, I remember one time, Crip dude just throwing the Frank everywhere. And I'm like, just looking at the blood dudes like, y'all not doing nothing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just gonna let this man disrespect you? And for me, the first thing I'm doing is swing it. Bop, 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 bop. Put me on the wall. I got like probably 15 days of like, because when you're on Rikers, the box is always full.
Yeah.
So you got to wait till they pick you up.
Yeah.
So some people might have 15, 60 days, 75 days until, it's time for the box to pick you up. And you get picked out anytime. You go to commissary and literally they'll wait for you. And you spend $150. Now you got to give that $150 to people you know.
Because you can't take the commissary to the box.
Yep. So, I mean, for me, like that was my first environment and my first situation where I felt like, this if I'm a part of this, I'm gonna give it 120%. You get what I'm saying? And I started learning, man, like, okay, that was my first fight. Nobody did nothing. Nobody jumped in. You get what I'm saying? And I don't want them.
You starting to open your eyes.
Yeah, start opening my eyes a little bit. Now, I landed in a cell area. I was in a 3 building,
Right.
C-73. Now it's
Okay.
closed,
It's
right?
closed, yeah.
So majority, I was still going to school. Yeah, my GED. So 19 to 24, that's the school for that age bracket, you know,
Okay.
for those young adults to continue getting their GED. So I landed in a cell area with Lion Kings. So it wasn't like weeks later where we found out it was a Crip dude in our dormitory. And it's different from the west side and east side, like the west and the east, because in the east side, some Crips can say, you know what, I don't need to say I'm a Crip. You get what I'm saying, on Rikers Island. So I remember that time, you know, finding out that, you know, blood dude, when you in a cell, you have a bubble that's basically divides a different, they might be the same house, but it's one side, the other side.
Yeah,
And
they got the north and the right.
north and the south. Yeah, so one blood dude said, yo, man, it's a Crip dude in there. And I'm like, you're lying. He's like, yeah, man. And the first thing is, you got to get him out of there. I was, all right, where you at? And who they told me, I was surprised. So I went to the Lion Kings. I said, man, it's a Crip dude in here. And they said, yo, all right, what we gonna do? We got to get him out of here. So I think for me, I just started, you know, getting more into that lifestyle. And when we found out where he was at, waited to, you know, we was at the cafeteria and we got him out of here. Boom, 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 boom. And it's just, and I'm saying these stories because it's important to say these stories, because sometimes people think is a delight or icing on the cream or whatever about being in the gang culture, you know. But when you're in jail, especially Rikers Island, it's different than facilities in where I was at, Green Correctional Facility.
Yeah, it changes once you go upstate.
Yeah, it changes.
Break it down. Tell them know.
So I think it's not just about the history or you around other different bloods, who are not just from your city, but from different places, from Rochester, Buffalo. Because people forget black and brown people is up there too. You know, they get incarcerated too. So I think for me, like, that was a whole different experience being up there, right? Like, it was more like cliques, right? I'm a part of this blood. Yeah, we blood, but I'm a part of this blood.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's still going on.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Where people, just because I do a lot of trips to Rikers Island, and that's how they live. There's a lot of bloods, but one particular group of bloods, they live in one unit by themselves. For some reason, they're not living with the rest of the bloods. I don't know what, but I mean, I guess.
It happens like that, you know, like I hear those stories all the time, you know, and I think.
But it's not supposed to be like that.
It's not, but
right?
I mean, think about it right now. Like the West Coast, when you think about the Black Panthers and the West Coast, when they first started becoming Black Panthers, they recruited former, people who was in the gang life, like the Slawsons, to be active with the Black Panthers before they got killed by the FBI.
Right.
But the goal was, when the Crips first came out, was to protect the community against police brutality, and the Bloods came out as well. It was a lot of Black Panther revolutionary history behind a lot of the West Coast sets that they still to now know the importance of, like, community build up, empowering people. When we look at like Nipsey Hussle and you see his those individuals or people like him trying to build up their neighborhood, knowing that they're still a part of that gang culture. And a lot of that was missing from the East Coast, right? And I think there's like, I can't tell people what to do because I'm not a part of that gang culture. But I think for me, like, I think our life are really precious, man. Like the other day, I scrummed through like social media, and particularly on this TikTok, it's like I see this kid saying on the picture, wasted. And I'm like, yo, man, like the kid died, and I'm just thinking about like, yo, a majority of our youth is really taking advantage.
Yeah.
And it's because our youth are in survival mode, and to kind of see, there are a lot of warriors, right? Because a lot of these people who are part of the gang culture, and any other way, they'd probably be warriors, right?
Yeah.
They'd probably be village protectors, and these are people who are always somewhat willing to go for whatever, right? And for me, like, I think when I, went upstate in Green Correctional Facility, I started learning, 16 to 25.
So before we go upstate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you was on the island. What was the outcome of your second time going to the island?
So I got sentenced to 5 years. So basically, I was 19 years old, and I got sent upstate, and I got sentenced to 5 years.
For what?
Robbery again.
And how was that going downstate?
I didn't go downstate. I went to Ulster.
You went to Austin.
So you go. So downstate is like.
Where's Ulster?
It's in Green. I mean, it's in Albany.
It was in Albany.
Literally, Ulster is like
How
the
was
intake.
that?
It was pretty okay. Like stuff still happens around there.
Did you shave their head? All that still they did.
Still stuff happened around there.
I mean, did they when you went upstate, right? Did they shave their head?
Yeah, they do
still
that.
got the process?
Yeah, they do all that. Shave your head. Like.
Yeah, I'm just saying because you said you didn't go downstate, but you went.
I went upstate. Yeah,
Right.
I went to Ulster.
Ulster, so it was the same. It was
Same thing.
same thing.
But just for anyone who has 7 years, they're going to facilities that is taking people under 7 years.
Oh, okay, I get it. Oh, okay.
So I landed in Ulster. I was in Ulster probably like 2 months. I landed in solitary confinement with Ja Rule when Ja Rule was going through his own situation.
Okay.
So
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, it was wild, because me being around that, like I landed in solitary confinement because I got in a fight, and I came back out skinny as fuck. Because I think people forget in solitary confinement, you don't eat what you want. You eat what they give you.
Absolutely.
And people forget that, a lot of times, if you've been in solitary confinement, sometimes we try to save the bread for night when we trying to finish working out.
True.
We don't forget that.
Mode.
Survival mode.
With some jelly or something, right?
Figure something out. We're hiding that bread. We're going to eat that at night. We're going to still do our push-ups because we always got to get prepared when we step outside of solitary confinement. Because anything can happen. I seen people step out of solitary confinement, 10 seconds, they back in because shit just happened.
So, during your time, 5 years, what's the craziest things you've seen? And what was the, there's a lot of mental things that that you go through in there.
Yeah.
Because it ain't a normal fit, you know what I'm saying? So, you got to be mentally strong.
Yeah.
A lot of brothers are not strong. They go up there, want to pick up cigarette butts.
Mm-hmm.
In their mind, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was up there and, in Green Correctional Facility, it's a youth facility. So majority of the people who are going to that facility are 16 to 25.
Right.
So 50% of the population are young boys.
Right.
And we all are in dormitory. So it'll be 60 people in the dorm. Out of those 60 people, 48 people would be gang related.
Wow.
Can you imagine how many gang members literally was in MS-13, Bloods, Crips, Lion Kings, local crews, YGs, YBs, any OY, like all these old, and also the Bloods and, the regular gangs.
Regular gangs.
But can you, in every dorm, out of the 60 kids who were there were basically 50 to 50 out of the 60 was gang related. And for me, like one of the wildest thing that I was seeing, I seen correctional officer kill somebody, not physically kill somebody. The dorm, like the whole compound found out that a correctional officer killed somebody in solitary confinement. And those moments, for me, Green Correctional Facility does not play with our youth. They'll break their legs. They will put them in the hospital. And I heard
bad stories about that jail.
Oh, it's horrible. They
just violated because they're young. They think they don't have the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
which they most likely don't have the knowledge to defend themselves and know their rights. So there's a lot of illegal shit going on.
I mean, I've seen so many different things there. People getting cut, fights on regular things that we kind of see. But these are young boys, right? So it's a lot different. Before I get to Riverview, it's a lot different from Riverview and being with the youth because anything can kind of happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like if that kite go out and you got to take somebody out, you better be done by the time that kite hits the garbage can. Like and seeing like young people just, go ham.
They just be lost. And
Riots, bro. Literally, people forget that we're from the city. And we're also dealing with people from upstate, right? Albany, Buffalo, Rochester. And we might have upstate versus the city.
Right.
So it might be a riot. You know what I'm saying? Or the Bloods and the Patria. I've been in situations when that clique go out and said, everybody got to pop it off. So all dorms, 20 dorms popping it off. Boom, 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 boom.
The whole jail.
The whole jail. So and we're young. So it's that I seen those moments of times. I mean, I also heard of just friends, taking their life, man. I met this blood dude, good dude, man. He landed in solitary confinement, and man, he found out that it was a kite that went to him, and they said, "Yo, man, somebody's gonna go kill your family, man." And that's what it said on the paper, man. He went ham trying to get to the counselor because you're in solitary confinement. It's hard to call your family. So
you ain't got no access to the world. You there 23 hours a day. I mean, you punished.
Yeah, man. He got that paper. He was trying to tell the counselor, "I need to get on a phone, call my family. Some harm is coming their way." Man, they never gave that man that phone call. The next day, his family got killed, man, and he took his life. He's like, "Yo, man, what do I got to come home to?" And the other thing that really happened was you get lost for real. Like, I think people forget that. When I was going to in Green Correctional Facility, I went to go see the visiting. We have a visiting floor, the dance floor, and this mom cut me off to get in front of the correctional officer And usually you got to check in to go on the visit floor. Right. And before I can even go to the correctional officer, the lady was like, "Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I've been calling the jail for a whole week. I have not heard nothing from my son in a whole week." And then, the correctional officer looked at his computer. "Oh, yeah, we buried him. We thought we called you." She said, "Nobody called me." And to my surprise, I'm like, why did she get all the way to the dance floor to get that information?
That's crazy. That's drastic, man.
It's
mental fucking.
It fucked me up, man. Like, cause it let me know that you can really get lost, man. And for me, like, those correctional officers, they put their hands on you, right? And no matter how tough you are, you get what I'm saying? Like, once you start swinging, and all right, you won that one. Now you got a whole team out to put hands and feet on you. Now you getting help. You like, yo, I got to go to the clinic.
Let me tell you something. I could definitely relate to that, man, because I used to get it popping with the police, and they used to fuck me up.
Yeah.
And you never win. You know what I'm saying? No matter
never.
what. No matter how many times you fight them, this, that. You in their house, that's their building. They some jails let you know that on top, right?
All for it.
So it just it part of all that is just lack of education and us as our background and not having someone there to be like to give you that G to tell you, my man, don't do that. Yo, easy. You can do this like this. You could do that. You know what I'm saying? Nah, don't do it like that. Do this.
Yeah.
Now we live in a different world. Now we have with these young brothers out here and sisters, they ain't got no excuse not to do anything because you could basically get a job at home.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone all day and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of more opportunities, more jobs. Yes, it's not perfect. It would never be perfect.
Oh yeah.
So everybody wants, the blame is the Trump or the blame is this one or the blame is that one. But at the end of the day, listen.
It's us.
Yeah. We got to change as a whole. I mean, our mindset.
Yeah, that's a fact.
We got to do that from home, from our neighborhood.
And we got to get these kids off survival mode, man. Because I think, and it's a hard thing to kind of see, them just trying to figure out things, man. Like I see so many. They shouldn't have
to figure it out. For the real OGs out there, because there ain't too many OGs. They got a bunch of old heads out there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not an OG. So for a bunch of old heads out there, You know what I'm saying? Stay out the way. You know what I'm saying? And for the OGs, need to step up. You know what I'm saying? And holler at your nephew, your cousin, your man's son that he passed away. Like, you know, your man ain't there. I bet your man that's in the grave, he would love for you to, you know, talk to his son, to his nephew, and give him that tat, give him that, you know what I'm saying, that talk. You know what I'm saying? So like that, he, you know, because sometimes you could just, it only takes a little chat. You have a conversation with a brother. Well, word? I could, yeah, man, you got to do it like that, man. You ain't got to go and react like that, man. That's not going to get you nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, word, like, they ain't used to that talk.
Yeah, yo, Pistol, I'm not gonna lie to you. I see that all the time. Like, even my neighbors one day even brought me to their house because their nephew was joining the Crips. And I just had to just have a full conversation with him. Like, not trying to say, hey, this is not this is your life, but these are the consequences that come from that
Give
lifestyle.
them that wisdom.
You know, and I think it's important. But we also, besides all that, we need access to equity, right? Like the abilities to start our own businesses, right? Like, I think what we need to be able to keep showing is that we're starting things from the ground, as you have, right? Because they need to see that it's okay to not get a haircut for a month because you're grinding and building your business from the bottom.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? It's okay to know that you might not be in that spot where you want to be at, or you might not be able to get those Jordans because you're grinding.
Listen, man, I have a whole bunch of rich friends. They don't owe me no money. I'm still grinding and working for my own money, working for my own shit.
And that's how it's supposed to be. So for me, like, I see my story and I see a lot of young people, and they ask me, like, what would you say to me? It's like, just get a little bit of piece of paper and you see just shit just change around you, right? You see yourself, you know, that 9 to 5 or whatever. I tell people all the time, when I first came home, I was a dishwasher. You get what I'm saying? That was the first thing I started doing. I became a dishwasher. I started from there. I worked in the food industry. I worked for Drive Change, a food truck that only hires formerly incarcerated people.
Before you
food. I dealt with food, but I was coerced and forced, right?
And Greens.
I was in Green Correctional Facility in Riverview, so I was coerced and forced. What I mean coerced and forced, because people don't know the 13th Amendment, set for a punishment for a crime. We're all enslaved, especially people who are incarcerated. I mean, majority just people who are incarcerated, right? So a lot of times you might not have a choice to pick out your vocabulary, your vocational that you want to impart me, your vocational that you want to do. I wanted to get in computers, and I remember correctional officers say to you, nope, we don't got that open. Then I'll wait. No, you're going to take this training. If you're not, you're going to solitary confinement. Right. So I tell people all the time, like, while you're in there, really take advantage of those moments, whatever it is. You know, I was in masonry for 3 years. I'm not using that masonry vocational, but I learned to show up. I learned to be physically there, and I learned how to build with a team, right? So even if I was doing masonry and I was, you know, I blow my nose and dust come out my nose, I learned that, like, I had to start somewhere, right? And that mean, like, you know, and when you in jail or in prison, you only getting paid 16 cents, you know, and maybe it's a little bit higher, but when I was there, you ain't getting paid nothing.
You ain't getting nothing.
So for me, it was like, we started somewhere, and we knew that coming home, that it's not those 16 cents no more. It might be that minimum wage that you're able to get. But you know, for myself, even being an ED on my own nonprofit, I started somewhere, right? From working at the food truck, then working at nonprofits, you know, being in those spaces, learning from other directly impacted people. But it started there. When
this mindset, when you came home and you had a plan when you came home?
I just wanted to stay home. That was my mindset, right? Like, I think for me, I've been in a system, you know, I'm 33, and I just got a parole around like 3 years ago, and I've been in the system since 14 years. So, since I was 16, I was on probation, violated, you know, came home, parole, finished parole. You get what I'm saying?
Year later, went back.
You get what I'm, you know, there's like this.
So you've been in the system for a long time, majority of your life.
My youth life.
So exactly. So you trying to get off that.
But what I learned, I think I was in solitary confinement. It was my second to last time. And the reason why I say that, and I'm going to talk about it, I was literally right next to a kid who was 18 years old, who in Green Correctional Facility, they let other youth be in the box, right? And this dude was doing 25 to life. And, you know, he was gonna, you know, they was gonna move him to another facility. And then right next to me was a elder, around 60s. This man been in the system before it was black and brown people. It was Irish. And he's like, yo, man, the stories he told me, this man been in the system his whole life. And I'm just kind of sitting in solitary confinement, looking at the mirrors, like, what's next? What do I do? How do I take advantage of this? Right? And I just started really slowly picking up books, talking to OGs, but it started from there, right? And, you know, I slowly started leaving that gang culture, and I said, you know, I need to change my circle as well.
Was it complicated?
It was very complicated, especially being in a facility that was all blood, right? And for me, like, you know, you'll get into fights, right? Because you're not in the gang lifestyle. But, you know, I'm my own man. You know, I'm not afraid to you know, get down. And that's where I was at, that lifestyle, right? But before I was coming home, I kind of changed my mindset, started reading, started getting more, connected to some of these OGs. Growing. Yeah. And those OGs, because in Green Correctional Facility, they still got people doing life coming to the facility. Because, you know, when you call for your license plate, you're calling somebody who's incarcerated, telling you where to go at, how to go for your license plate, whatever. So people forget majority of things that are made from incarcerated people. So I just started changing my circle, and you know, like I remember I was it was Cinco de Mayo, and I was getting ready to go home June 3rd. That's why I said, never tell people when you go home. That secret should be to yourself. And, you know, somebody found out that I was about to go home June 3rd. You know, took a nap. Somebody knocked on my, I was in a dormitory. Like, yo, you got a cigarette, bro? And it was, yeah, bro, I got a cigarette. I gave him, you know, he opened I opened my locker. I said, yo, go in there and get a cigarette. Man, I laid back down. A CO knocked on my cube search. Cube search? For what? They found a weapon in my locker. That wasn't even mine. I got set up. And I'm over here like, yo, I'm thinking I'm going home June 3rd. I'm telling who I was with at that time, yo, I'm going to see you home. This is what we going to do.
Yeah. You was excited.
You know, prepared as you should. But, you know, the ancestors or God is just, they got a different plan for you. Man, when I found out that I was set up and, you know, a letter was dropped on me saying that I was selling weapons around the Green Correctional Facility, I was like, none of that's true. And it don't matter how much you can say, it's on plain sight. Correctional officers don't care.
Yeah. Nah.
You know how many people lost their good time? So I'm just saying there, I'm like, yo, I'm about to go home. I'm not going home. I landed back in solitary confinement. It was my last time. It was 105 degrees. Excuse me. Brutal summer. And then when you're in the solitary confinement, it's 115 degrees.
You must have been going through it.
I was in my boxers throwing water on me. Like,
but not only that, you was just, I mean, that's mental torture.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you going home, you just like, I'm going home next week, Thursday. And then this week, Friday, they find you with, you're like, huh?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Everything just turned sideways. And then not only that, to make it even tougher on you, they put you in a box.
Yeah.
You could really lose your fucking mind.
And the hardest part is when that day come, and then you expecting them to early in the morning open that cell and let you go home.
Absolutely. Like, yo, come on, let's go.
You know, I was breaking everything, flooding everything. Yo, get the sergeant here right now. Or, yo, telling everybody, flood everything. Yeah. Cause I'm like, yo, what's going on? You literally. And what people don't know, when you get caught with weapons, there might be an outside person who's maybe a community person or somebody who's not attached to the facility who will be the one listening to your case?
It's true.
And for me, no matter how much I said that was not mine, you know, you have violence in your record. So I was in solitary confinement for 90 days before I went to Riverview. Riverview is now closed, but Riverview Correctional Facility is 8 hours away from the city. And literally, I'm just there like, yo.
So you're about to go up there.
And I got to tell the girl that I'm saying to, yo, I can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
That I'm about to max out. I'm about to be out of here December 31st.
Visits and all that?
Yeah, I was.
You visit, families coming.
Families coming and stuff like that. My mom's wasn't coming. She's an elder. So you know how that goes down.
A lot of people don't get that. You know, a lot of people go around, do 5 years, 10 years without seeing their family.
Yeah, and it's a real thing.
And it's a real thing.
And you give people 3 ways so they can just hear their family for their on the holidays. That hurts. You know, like I think people forget those.
So you was fortunate. You was, you know, you had your people there. You know, that made it easier for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For you to even fuck up. When you got your family, it's like, you know, and they there coming to see you and all that. You fucking up. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
So good thing is that you was ready.
Yeah, I was ready, man. My date was December 31st of 2014.
Okay. And
Literally.
you've been home since?
I've been home since. Yeah. I came home, you know, the first thing I did was like, where the resources at? Who do I need to connect with? And I started getting active with the Drive Change, the food truck that only hired formerly incarcerated youth, 18 to 25. We won the best food truck Vinny Awards in 2015.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we sold grilled cheese. We had Oprah, you know, having us on TV. We was featured in Success magazines.
That was cool as hell.
Yo, man, I think for me,
that was cool.
That was beautiful because that was me experiencing life that was a lot different than what I was experiencing, the gang lifestyle, selling drugs, or being around my environment.
Sure.
But this food truck also involved themselves in social justice. So I first heard about when they was trying to launch the campaign to close Rikers before it even launched in 2015. And I'm like, yo, they trying to close Rikers. And at that time, you know, God bless his soul, Khalif Browder took his life.
Right.
And and you know that kind of mobilized,
like
mobilized the city and say, you know what, we needed to do something. So in 2015, around April, organizations directly impacted people did a protest in front of City Hall in New York. That's where, you know, our local city council and our mayor has an office, and said, you know, it's time to close Rikers. And that's how I got involved in some of the work in closing Rikers. But I've been active in that space for a long time. And I remember times when we used to, you know, watch the mayor, see where he goes at, you know, like it'd been times when, you know, man, it'd been times when, you know, like the mayor had the power to close Rikers, right? You know, it's the law now that Rikers need to be closed by 2027, and they're not, you know how that goes. They can't find people to finish, you know.
No, the jail's old. It's falling apart. I mean, in these, definitely it has to be closed down, or they got to remodel, do something.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is under the law, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. So Rikers is supposed to be closed by 2027, right? So the city's going to 12 to 4 jails, right? Where there's already existing facility, the Tombs. I've been in the Tombs, Brooklyn, Bronx, and Queens. The only ones that is not getting that's not getting a facility is Staten Island. It's because there's a small population of people who are getting incarcerated in Staten Island. But before all of that, you know, like we had to push the mayor, and at that time was Bill de Blasio, who was the mayor. And so our goal was literally to follow him everywhere. So when he had a fundraiser, we was out there with our banners, where directly impacted people telling their stories. You know, when he did any like, we would be in front of Gracie Mansion. That's where majority of the mayor would be at, 5 o'clock in the morning, waiting for him to go for whatever he went through. Right?
He was making sure they see you.
Yeah, but not just even that. We like one time we learned that he was going to his favorite gym, and somebody who was working at the gym told us like, "Yo, the mayor goes to this gym all the time."
Wow.
And we were like, all right. So, I'll dress up, have my, my pants is slack, making,
Presentable.
blending in, especially knowing that neighborhood where Gracie Mansion at, it's a white neighborhood, right? So you see the mayor just come out with his car, and then you just telling your organizers and people who are part of the campaign and who also are organizers with you, the mayor's coming, he's going to the gym. So it's like our goal was also as survivor of Rikers Island is to hold this person accountable, because we knew the horror, what it means. Because Rikers Island, when you look at it, right, it's the only facility that exists in the country that's on the island.
Right.
People forget that, right? And by the time you get on Rikers Island, everything or every issue that was reported violence that happened is over.
Yes.
We know that. So, when I started getting active with the Close Rikers campaign, we was figuring out how to close Rikers, but also figure out what investments do our community need to improve it, right? So we started studying like the Young Lords and the Black Panthers, and they went in community asking them what exactly the community members need. So we created something called the Built Community Platform. And in 2019, my organizing and being a part of the the campaign to close Rikers, we were a part of basically making a law that in 2027 Rikers Island needs to close, but not just on top of that, 400 million went into Black and brown communities, and that was beautiful. So we need investments in our community, and we know when Rikers is closed, it's going to save billions of dollars, and we need to stay on top of that, because we know what community investments look like and what communities need investments.
Yeah, that's for sure. You definitely have something good, man. So this is what you're doing now? Yeah,
so I'm an executive director of an organization called America on Trial. We started as a 501c.
America on Trial.
Yeah. That was like literally our mindset. Like we felt at that in 2020 when George Floyd and what happened with him, and we just felt like America has always been on trial, right?
Absolutely.
And even to now, right? It's always on trial. Like the way that it's treated Black and brown communities, poverty levels, the investment not going in our community. Even keeping someone on Rikers Island is $500,000, $554,000, and just to get a youth or someone ATI and turn into incarceration to not get them to jail, but get them into getting them the program that they need, it's like 30-40K. So as taxpayers right now, we're paying $500,000 for someone to be on Rikers awaiting trial. And being a part of the Close Rikers campaign, we knew speedy trial was the issue, right? We know that majority of people on Rikers Island, we met people that have been on Rikers probably 5-6 years, 10 years.
It's always going to be like that. It's like that now. You got people that sitting for a long time.
But under this law, speedy trial, discovery law, and bail reform, these laws was passed as well from a campaign called Free New York that will actually make sure that you can't. Bail was never supposed to be used against you for your freedom. Bail is just a stamp to know that you're gonna come back.
Yeah.
And speedy trials, everybody should have speedy trial. No matter how long somebody's in there, people should be seen by the judge and come home. Majority when these legislation was passed, like 97, like a large percentage of people never really go to trial. Or because they're already nervous about what evidence.
Yeah, the outcome and all that. I mean, it's like a routine.
But remember, for you and Rikers, you never got whatever evidence they had against you until you went to trial.
Right.
So this legislation that we was a part of in 2019 helped to make sure whatever they had against you, they got to put it at the table at the forefront. So you won't be in there waiting like Khalif Browder. So it wasn't just the law to close Rikers or the investment to go into Black and brown communities, but the part about the legislation part. And for me, being directly impacted, I had to learn about what's legislation, how legislation works. So I've been an ED at America on Trial. We started as a 501c3 2 years ago. We're a national organization. We have members and supporters in 29 states. But I tell you all the time, it's not easy work being Latinx. No. Like we know And this is when I get to the part that majority of EDs, there's a small percentage of Latinx who are leading nonprofits in the East Coast. And it's hard for us to even get grant money to fund our work. So we recently just launched our AIRS campaign. It stands for Abolishing Incarcerated Reality Show, where we're saying some of these TV and production networks are taking advantage of incarcerated people for entertainment purposes. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, man.
Y'all moving.
Yeah, we moving.
They got a lot of things. The good thing is that you focus.
Yeah.
You've been home how long?
I've been home. I make 10 years this December 31st. It's scary.
It's okay, man. You accomplished a lot. You have done a lot. You know what I'm saying? Are you family?
Yeah. No, I got a partner, but I don't got no kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. What you think about prison reform?
I think we got a lot of things to do. I think right now there is a lot of legislation right now that is existing. Like right now there has been around 33 deaths on Rikers for the past 3 years. What people don't know that the Department of Correction doesn't have to report if a death happened to your loved ones. So September 27th, we're going to be at City Council at the City Hall in a hearing. There's a bill that is gonna make sure that the Department of Correction gets in touch with the family member in case of any harm that happens, if they get, any type of violence that happens.
Just like for example, the lady that you said that went up to the visiting room to go see her son, and her son was already buried.
Yeah, come on now.
Super trauma.
That's super trauma. It's like,
It's not cool.
I believe there needs to be a lot of reforms, right? Like a lot of us, when we come home, there's like 45,000 laws against us in housing and getting into, getting into the banking system, right? So we can get out these loans. I can go down the line. You know how many things that directly impacted people when they come home that we're not having access to.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things we need to have access to. Even right now when the marijuana business is happening, and I'm looking at, a lot of these black markets, and a lot of them are from our neighborhoods, right? They don't have enough funds or have the individual who's formerly incarcerated that have been, impacted by the war on drugs. But they're from our neighborhood. They need to have access to these, these licenses as well. So it's like the prison reform.
They're making it hard. I mean, there's a little bit of dispensaries out, really few. They've been making they've been making it hard. With the license, even having the license is always stipulations, this, that. So it's just like I said, it's things that they ain't gonna make it easy for us.
Oh yeah, but we gotta fight.
But we gotta just keep going. You know what I'm saying, and make it happen.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, with that being said, man, I want to thank you so much, man, for coming through.
I appreciate you having me. Again, it is Hispanic Latinx Day.
There you go. Break it
month.
down.
I think I want to thank you for having me here. Like I told CK, like it's an honor being here.
Appreciate
as always, it's always important for us to keep building. Hopefully we got some youth out there who are looking at this and say, yo, I need to reach out to him.
That's right.
or some teachers and saying, yo, I need to have him come and speak to the youth.
That's right.
But because that's what we need to do, right? Like that's how we built the village that we want to see.
That's how we built. That's why this platform is created. This is your voice.
I appreciate it.
When we incarcerated, we never really had no voice. So this is your voice. This is your platform. This is for us. It's not only mine. This is ours. So whenever you do have some information, you want to come back up here. You already
appreciate
know. This is
you.
your
Yeah,
house.
thank you.
Ain't gotta be no special. Yo, I need to get back up there because I got some other shit going on, and I want to spread the news.
I appreciate
This
you.
is your platform.
Thank
Dog
you.
y'all.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate having you, my brother. You already know. You already know. It's your boy Pistol Pete, dog in the yard.
Welcome back, y'all. You already know it's SF. And I told y'all that was a special interview, man. The guy's doing a lot of things from the crazy background and upbringing as a child, now helping the kids with gang violence and all that. He's a part of plays a big role in the Closing Rikers campaign. He got a lot going on with the criminal justice reform, so you already know, man. Keep doing your thing, Vidal. SF, dog in the yard.
Federales came again, they put the gang in chains again. Say that they still watching, but we opping, so we aim again. These niggas scared, running around talking about the ops again. The ambulance gon' call a helicopter if my chopper spin. Niggas playing Bishop, I put blood up in his hiccups. Catch me sliding on a Friday, have him hiding in the pickup. Okay, Trizzy going stupid, back a gun out, better shoot it. I was broke, home improvement, picked my tool up and I used it.